Hello, welcome to our National Food Safety Education Month webinar on an abundance of content. You're definitely going to hear about a lot of great content today. I want to thank you all for being with us. We have some very experienced special guests who are a great resource for you as you plan food safety education outreach, not just for this month, but for the year ahead. So I want us to get started right on time, and we'll go over a few housekeeping matters. This is Shelley Feist. I am the Executive Director of the Nonprofit Partnership for Food Safety Education, and we're very pleased to welcome you to today's webinar. The next slide, again, welcome. We are a nonprofit, and our work is entirely focused on developing and promoting effective education programs to reduce foodborne illness risk for consumers. That is all we do, and we're so happy to work with many of you on this important topic through all kinds of ways, through webinars, through our website, through our conference. And we really appreciate your being here and the work that you do. Next, please. So here's our housekeeping matters. Before we get started, I wanted to tell you a little bit about asking a question because we're going to leave time for questions. There is a question box on the right of the screen. Just enter your question there, and we will get to as many of those as we can at the last 15 minutes or so of the webinar. After the webinar, you will receive a brief survey, and your filling this out is so helpful to us. It helps us improve our content. It helps us know what you think about the material presented, so please help us improve and fill that out. Continuing education units we know are super important to many of you. One of the things we do is make them available as handouts right here on the webinar. So there's no need to even wait until we post the recording. You can get your CEU certificate right here. See them on the sidebar under handouts. We'll do a follow-up email, and that'll include a link to the certificates. Or when the recording goes up, which is about within 36 hours or so of this live webinar, you can find it under our events tab, webinar recordings, and the CEU certificates will be right there. Again, I'm Shelley Feist. I'm Executive Director of the Partnership. Our speakers today, as I said, we have three fantastic speakers that are a great resource for you. I'll briefly give you their names now, and then we'll do an intro when each of them is up for their slot here on the webinar. Sue Borra is with us. She's Executive Director of the FMI Foundation and Chief Health and Wellness Officer at FMI. We also have with us today Maya Maroto. She's a public health educator at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. And Eric Davis, he's Vice President and Group Director for Creative Strategy at FLM Harvest. So let's get started. We shared with you some learning objectives. These are important so you know what you're going to get out of today's webinar. We're going to talk about food safety risks and behaviors underlying new consumer outreach campaigns, food safety in the kitchen, and the story of your dinner. We're going to talk about social media and traditional media strategies that help you get the attention of key audiences that are important to all of us in food safety, parents with young children and older people. We're going to build a strategy for working with your local media. I'm very excited about this, and we have some specific tools for you to do this, to call attention to food safety as Thanksgiving approaches, and to talk about a robust communication calendar for the last 2 weeks of this month. There's lots of time left to really put your organization forward as a source on food safety education for consumers. So I'm happy to introduce Sue Borra, the Chief Health and Wellness Officer of the Food Marketing Institute. She leads FMI's health and wellness initiatives, recognizing the unique assets of a grocery store, food, nutrition experts in pharmacy, And she talks about food retail's important role in helping customers lead healthy lives. She's executive director of the FMI Foundation, which supports research and education in the areas of food safety, nutrition, and health. Sue has held many leadership and advisory roles for professional organizations and societies, including serving as president of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics from 2001 to 2002. She is a terrific friend of the partnership and is always giving us great advice and guidance. So, Sue, welcome and thank you.
Well, thank you, Shelley, and thank you for inviting me here today, and I'm delighted to share with you an update. We were able to visit last year on the webinar, and we are delighted to be back again to talk with you about one of my favorite programs that we do in the FMI Foundation, and that's calling September National Family Meals Month. And we think this is a perfect hand-in-hand opportunity to tie in everything that you're doing for Food Safety Education Month can be wrapped into discussions about having more healthy and safe family meals. So thank you for including me in the discussion today. To share just a bit of background about National Family Meals Month, it's a relatively new campaign. We just started this back in 2015. I mean, I think Shelley has 20 years under her belt of doing Food Safety Education Month, but we're only 4 years old. And what our goal is with this emphasis on and a focus on a Family Meals Month is to encourage families to enjoy one more meal, could be breakfast, lunch, or dinner, at home each week. And we do know from research that's out there that having more family meals has a lot of societal and health benefits, from anywhere from combating obesity to helping kids avoid unhealthy behaviors and risky behaviors. And we do know that these types of things contribute to a healthier community and certainly a healthier nation. The reason the foundation promotes National Family Meals Month, our role is to encourage food retailers, suppliers, and folks like you, we call community collaborators, to provide real live solutions for family meals at home. So we talk about why family meals are important from the foundation standpoint, and then we turn to all of you as collaborators to help us implement solutions to family meals that you can share with the communities that you're serving. One thing we do know about, we know a lot about family meals, but we do know that American families tell us all the time they want to have more family meals together. They feel the stresses of time and all the things that they have to deal with, and they're struggling to have more family meals as a result. And as I mentioned earlier, they do recognize these benefits from social, emotional, that's helpful, and also it's financially smart to have more meals at home. So these are the things that they do know and they do believe. But when we look at what's preventing people from having family meals, the number one thing they tell us is that my life is so crazy and everybody has such differing schedules that it's really hard for us to get together to have a meal at home. And many times this one was particularly in context of dinner. So we also try to encourage, well, let's look at breakfast and lunch if dinner's too hard. But then they tell us, I'm really tired at the end of the day, so I don't have enough energy to make a meal. And they also tell the stresses that come with all that is I just don't have the time. So we know that folks out there are providing all kinds of ideas and recipes, and supermarkets are providing meal kits and prepared foods in all different ways that they can achieve that. So as I said earlier, what our goal is to get one more meal a week. We'll talk to everyone and give you information and science behind why family meals are so important, and then everybody else will give great solutions for how to achieve family meals. For those of you who are interested, it's very easy to get involved with National Family Meals Month. You go to our website that's on every slide here, fmifamilymeals.com, and it's chock full of resources and toolkits and infographics, and now we have video infographics we did this year, as well as a best practice guide that shows all different examples of ways different communities have implemented family meals. So everything that you could need to at least get you jump-started into doing something for family meals is on the website, and we hope you will take a look. And if you don't do it this year, we're looking forward to you joining us next year. Looking at what last year, Shelley and I were able to connect and talk about, well, how can we do a better job of combining National Family Meals Month with activities that are going on in National Food Safety Education Month? So last year we put together kind of a sample family meal with a bunch of recipes that had the main entree and the side dishes and There's even a dessert, and it's at the fightback.org link. And our goal here was to show people how you can easily have good recipes for family meals, but the big part of this program was how to simply improve the recipe by including food safety handling tips throughout the recipe, not just in the corner that says, chill, cook, separate, but throughout the recipe, making a conscious effort to say, wash your hands before cutting the product, or after you've handled the raw food, wash your hands again. So based on this experience that we had last September, FMI and PFSE has been working really closely on, can we turn this into a standard, a national standard that anybody who's doing a recipe could easily follow and incorporate into their recipe, so it'll become like secondhand knowledge. Everybody would, well, of course that recipe would have that information. So we've been working carefully to create a new standard of how all food recipes should be written, so that they do include food safety instructions. And then we need to talk to all the recipe developers and publishers on why this is important and how easy it is to adopt it. And to make it easy for folks to do, we prioritize what would be the practices and wording that could go into a recipe. And we've come up with the 4 areas of temperature control, hand washing, cross-contamination, and produce washing to be the areas to focus on, so that we get the behaviors that we believe are most important to improve the safety of the foods people are preparing. And just to give you an idea of a sample recipe of how this would work, actually I'm previewing the story of your dinner, which you'll hear much more about later on in this webinar. But here's one of the recipes that were produced for that program, and we've pulled out where these instructions are related to food safety handling practices. So the first step is wash your hands with soap and water. And then when it comes to the working with the produce, gently rub green peppers and onions in a cold running water. You see there's later on in the recipe, there's another wash hands with soap and water. And then with temperature, always making sure that you give an internal temperature for the final product being part of that criteria. We have actually run this concept by a group of leading recipe developers who are out there actually doing this for a living. And they have told us that they are very interested in the possibility of incorporating these, that they need it to be simple and easy and understandable and not a ton of words, but they're very anxious to get their hands on this and see how they can incorporate it into more recipes moving forward. So with that, just to quickly share with you, we believe that this concept of food safety and family meals go hand in hand, and we look forward to continuing this partnership with the partnership to have as a goal that all recipes in the future will have food safety instructions, and this way we will have happy families having happy family meals that are safe and enjoyable. So Shelley, thank you again for the opportunity to share this information, and I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Sue, and we are really excited about both, continuing to promote family meals and this recipe project, which you all will hear more about in the months ahead. Thank you so much, Sue. I'm very happy to introduce Dr. Maya Maroto. She's a public health educator at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition in the Office of Analytics and Outreach. There she leads the development of consumer education and outreach projects on nutrition and food safety related topics. She is a registered dietitian. We probably have a few of those on the call. She has over 15 years of experience in nutrition education, food policy research, program management, and in academia. And prior to working at FDA, Dr. Maroto was a nutrition at the USDA Food and Nutrition Service, where she managed the production of nutrition education materials for school-age children. So, Maya, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Shelley. And Sue, your presentation just leads so nicely into food safety in the kitchen, which is the new initiative that I'm going to talk about today, which really marries, again, this food safety, nutrition, and recipes all together, and just fits in so nicely with Food Safety Education Month as well as Family Meals Month. So without further ado, I'll give you a little bit more background. So, as many of you may know, FDA conducts a periodic food safety survey, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here with giving this background, but you may know these statistics that 85% of consumers wash their hands after touching raw meat or raw fish. However, only 75% are using soap all the time before preparing foods, and 43% are washing their hands after cracking raw eggs. We also know there's room for improvement as far as food thermometer use goes, with 67% of respondents owning a food thermometer, and lower percentages, 38% using it for roast, 19% for chicken parts, 6% for egg dishes, and 10% for hamburgers. So we see that there's definitely room for improvement as far as getting consumers to actually follow the food safety tips while they're cooking. And as another point of background, there was a study published in the Journal of Food Protection in 2016 that really clearly shows that including food safety information in recipes has a very tangible outcome in terms of improving food safety behaviors during consumer meal preparation. So these figures are from the study, and you can see the green bars are the behaviors of consumers when the recipes include food safety steps, and the blue bars are when recipes do not. And you can see that almost universally, those green bars are higher. So consumers are washing their hands before cooking more and washing their hands after handling raw meat, poultry, fish, or eggs more if the recipe actually includes the instruction within its instructions. So this is why, you know, the initiatives that FMI is doing and our new Food Safety in the Kitchen are really trying to capitalize on this and make this the standard as far as including food safety steps within recipes. Next slide, please. So our Food Safety in the Kitchen materials are resources for, we're saying, home cooks and professional chefs. And we really want people to take away these two core messages: to cook with both food safety and nutrition in mind, and also to use recipes that feature food safety steps and healthy ingredients along the way. So we provided a suite of materials to help reinforce these core messages. Next slide, please. So the target audiences are both, as I said, the individuals who are cooking for themselves and their families at home. And I was reading an article just yesterday in the news about how home cooking is really on the rise, which is great to know, and also makes these materials just right on time for the consumer trends. And we're also hoping that these resources will be used by chefs, and beyond chefs, anybody who's writing recipes. And we know that these days there are many food bloggers or social media influencers who are also writing recipes. So it's not just the professional chefs, but sort of all the people who are writing recipes and putting them out there on Pinterest or other venues. We really are hoping that they will begin incorporating these food safety tips within their recipes using these resources. So to give you a little more background on what you will find on the Food Safety in the Kitchen website, and I'll give you at the end how to find the website, you will find fact sheets on how to write a food safe recipe. So in addition to finding food safe recipes, we have sort of the universal instructions that someone could use if they were writing a new recipe and wanted to include food safety instructions. We also have a fact sheet on cooking with nutritious ingredients, because we don't want people to only think about the food safety steps, but also to think back to those My Plate food groups and including fruits and vegetables and whole grains in the recipes. We have infographics, which are posted on Pinterest, which provide tips for keeping food safe all the way from the grocery store to the kitchen to the refrigerator after the food is cooked. And then, of course, we have a few recipes with nutritious ingredients and food safety steps. And all of the materials I've just mentioned are all available in both English and Spanish. We've also released a streaming waiting room video that doctors' offices or even a culinary school could use just to stream that would reinforce this type of information. And we will be releasing a bunch of social media messages this month at FDA Food on our Twitter as well as FDA's Facebook. And we've included some social media posts along with the handouts that you all can download from attending this webinar. And there's social media messages embedded in our website. So anybody can tweet about these resources and drive folks to this information. So to give you a preview of what the materials look like, this is our fact sheet on cooking with nutritious ingredients. And like I said, this links back to the My Plate food groups and contains a checklist and asks people to think, does my recipe include a variety of fruits and vegetables? Do I have whole fat? Do I have whole grains? Do I have healthy protein sources? And so that when you're writing a recipe, you're kind of thinking through a nutrition check, as well as you'll see on the next slide, looking at including the food safety tips in the recipe. So these are our tips for writing a food safe recipe. So we've broken it down by food group. If the recipe includes fruits and vegetables, we have suggested bullet points that you may want to include in those instructions in your recipe. If your recipe includes meat, poultry, seafood, eggs, and flour, we have suggested wording that you may want to include in your recipe to keep your hands safe, your kitchen safe, your food safe as you're preparing those types of food. We also are encouraging folks to even include a point or two about storing food safely, reminding people once you've cooked this, please put it in the refrigerator within 2 hours or 1 hour if the temperature is 90 degrees or above, and tips on how long you could keep the recipe. So if you had a recipe for poultry, you could say this recipe is safe to keep in your refrigerator for 3 to 4 days. So we just have a number of tips that people could include so that recipes will include all of this food safety information. Next slide, please. And in addition, as I mentioned, we have 2 infographics that you can download from the website in English and Spanish or find via Pinterest with the list of do's and don'ts as far as how to shop for food safely, store food safely, and prepare food safely. And we're hoping that these are also another vehicle that will help drive people to finding our information on our website. And on our next slide, I have a sample of one of our food safe recipes. So this is our recipe for grilled tuna and chickpea and spinach salad. And I have to thank our partners at the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute within NIH for allowing us to use some of their heart healthy recipes and adapt to those recipes so that they include food safety instructions. So as you see, we have one of the first steps is wash hands before cooking. And I think that we have our little arrows that may show up if you click on this slide. We have a step to wash hands after you handle the raw fish. We include here the safe cooking temperature for fish and, as I said, the safe storage instructions. So reminding people that within 2 hours, the food should be stored in the refrigerator. So as you can see, the arrows are coming in to show you the food safety steps that we just stuck right into the recipe. And then it also includes a reminder tip on cross-contamination, remembering that anything that's touched raw meat, raw meat or eggs or poultry should not come in contact with other surfaces until it's washed. So that's an example of one of our recipes. And this is a screenshot just showing what our streaming waiting room video looks like, and you can find it on our website as well as on YouTube, and anybody who wants to download that and use that as just a silent way of educating people as they wait, that is another resource available. And as I said, we at FDA are doing lots of social media outreach to drive awareness of this concept and to get folks to come to the website and see the materials. And like I said, we've also provided you as our partners with some of those messages so that you can do the same. And we hope that you'll be using them this month and beyond. And then to switch gears a little bit, to go along with the title of this webinar, we do have an abundance of content. So just last week, we released another suite of materials called Everyday Food Safety. And these are food safety materials that are geared towards young adults, age 18 to 29. So we've included some infographics on dining out and on safe tips for eating raw seafood and, what to think about when you're ordering at a sushi restaurant. We have an animated video that goes over how quick and easy it is to incorporate the 4 steps to food safety into your practices in your kitchen, as well as a social media toolkit. So I will, on my very last slide, show you how to find our resources. So if you go to FDA, www.fda.gov/food, there is in the corner a little link to resources for you. And if you click on consumers or health educators, you can find the food safety in the kitchen as well as the everyday food safety resources. And we hope that you will visit our website and check out those web pages and hopefully share them with your networks or in your social media or in any other outreach that you do. So thank you for allowing me to share our new resources.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maroto. There is an insane amount of great resources we're showing you today. So everyone should be very excited that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And there's a lot of great stuff for you. Okay, we're going to have our first poll. So everyone, please give us some feedback here. We'd love to know which of these food safety in the kitchen resources developed by the FDA are you most likely to use? Please just select one that you think you're most likely to use, and then we'll leave this poll open for about 30 seconds. So please vote. Okay, if you haven't had a chance to give us your input, please do. This helps us a lot. It helps us know what you like to use, what you're most likely to use, what you found most compelling. So, all right. Michelle, I think you can close the poll and please show us what people had to say. Okay, fact sheets, recipes. Recipes are the most popular. That's great. We're all working on all kinds of cool ways to integrate food safety, nutrition. So those are great resources. And thank you for your input on this. I also want to take a moment to encourage you to please post a question. We have 3 very experienced experts here on everything about food safety, but also how to really connect with consumers, creative. The research behind all these products is also another thing you might want to think about. And if you have a really cool plan for what you're doing for Food Safety Education Month, maybe even this webinar is getting you to think about something you're going to do in the next couple of weeks or something you're planning for the holidays. Post that too, and I'd love to share some of that. We have several hundred people on this live webinar, and I'm sure they would really enjoy hearing about your plans and challenges. We're really happy to have with us. Okay, so please post questions now so that we can go right into that when we wrap up with Eric. Eric Davis is the Vice President of Creative Strategy at FLM Harvest. I've had the pleasure of working with him for several years on Story of Your Dinner. He's amazing, and we really enjoy the work we do with FLM Harvest. He served over 20 years as a public relations agency professional. He's led strategic brand building, media relations, social media, and corporate social responsibility campaigns for some of the nation's top brands in food, lifestyle, transportation, health, and technology. So he's a great guy to pose questions to, and he's also going to show you some really terrific material and talk about some specific calls to action that we think will really multiply the impact we're all having with consumers in the next few weeks leading up to Thanksgiving. So thank you, Eric, for being with us.
Thank you, Shelley, and thank you, everyone who is on the call today. I'm so appreciative and grateful to be a part of this organization, and honored also to be sharing on a panel with the experts that you've just heard before. So extremely honored to be a part of this as well. Now, I know that if individuals who have been on past calls or been a part of past campaigns, first of all, thank you very much. And you typically don't hear about Story of Your Dinner until we're getting right into the heart of the holiday season. But this year, now our third year with the Story of Your Dinner campaign, we wanted to extend it and really make National Family Meals Month, National Food Safety Education Month, a key part of being a part of this amazing program and amazing conversation. So our campaign actually focuses on this month and goes all the way deep into the holiday season, just as because of many reasons. But we'll go to the next slide. This is a key time to be dining with family, and FMI and the other organizations and their call to actions for Family Meals Month. We want to be a part of that and note that dining with family is a precious time, and the meals that you enjoy should be treated with care. So we have created Partnership for Food Safety Education with the support of amazing sponsors, have developed the Story of Your Dinner campaign. It kicked off the first of the month during Family Meals Month, during Food Safety Education Month, to continue through the holiday season. And it's a campaign that has dual tracks. There is direct to consumer, but the most essential of them all is everyone on this call who's able to help spread the messages far and wide. And its great focus is how to integrate safe food handling into the delight of food preparation. This campaign, we really want to celebrate the joy of being together around the dining table, whether it's this month or whether it's into the fall and winter months. And our goal is to increase awareness, interest, and understanding, primarily among parents, families, and the elderly, on how they can get a delicious, healthy, and safe meal on the family dining table. And everyone on this call, we are so appreciative of you sharing these messages with a large audience, because we can't do it alone, and we don't want to do it alone. You are the experts, and you have these amazing connections. So we hope that you find this content useful and very easy and simple to share with your key audience as well. And I should mention, we have it here on the bottom of the slide. You can find these materials at storyofyourdinner.org. So that's storyofyourdinner.org. That's at the bottom of the slide here and future slides. A toolkit with resources for you to share with your key stakeholders, with your local communities, online, in person, and then also this year as well, not just online and in person, but also that you can share with key media and your markets as well. So in the kit, you'll find a Story of Your Dinner campaign video, which can be shown on your site or streamed in key places, recipe cards and videos with food safety steps, infographics, kids activity materials, whether it's activity sheets or placemats, social media graphics, and social media posts that are timed to right now, that you could go to right now and pull off posts that can be used for Family Meals Month, also through the holiday season as well, and also a template press release and steps to help get the word out to the media in your community. So we'll go through some of these materials here. Again, you can find it all at storyofyourdinner.org. And we're so excited to, with the new food safety messages that have just come out, just in time, we were able to include it into our recipes this year. We have 6 new recipe cards created by home cooks, parents, bloggers, that can be shared with home cooks and parents and anyone else who needs help getting a safe, healthy meal on the table. So we tapped individuals who develop recipes to create fall-themed, holiday-themed, September-themed recipes. and we were able to include the new food safety messages in that. The videos in particular are fast motion recipe videos, very personalized to the person who created it, but 30 seconds, 40 seconds keeps within that time frame of people's attention spans, and so you can also find those at the site as well, and hope that you'll find those. Again, time to the holidays, time beyond the holidays that could be used now as well here during Family Meals Month. Go to the next slide. And these are among my favorites here as the father of a 10-year-old, kid-friendly resources that we've created this year. Activity sheets that could be for second graders. Some are appropriate for first and second graders. Some are at the fourth and fifth grade level. Activity sheets such as crossword puzzles, word searches, not fill in the blank, but chill in the blank. Food safety do's and don'ts. So you'll see is this appropriate or is that appropriate? So do's and don'ts, and helping kids really in a multisensory situation really understand basic food safety steps, and then also spot the mistakes guides as well. Love these a lot, and I think these will really resonate with families. I know it has with mine, and so hope you enjoy these as well. And then also for coloring activity placemats focused on various steps in the food production process and purchasing process and eating process about food safety and preparing a safe meal. Again, those downloaded on the site as well. Interactive and fun ways to incorporate food safety. We also have infographics and fact sheets. A heavy emphasis on baking, as that is something that obviously carries now in Family Meals Month all the way through the holiday season. So necessary an infographic that highlights the necessary food safety basics for baking. They could be shared online, could be shared on your website, could be printed out as well and shared with individuals as well. And then also food safety fact sheets highlighting key food safety steps as well. Again, downloadable, shareable on social, printable, and also that you could put on your site. Also, something very excited about coming up soon for Family Meals Month is a Facebook Live event. And I'm sure many have participated in these or watched these before. These are very highly engaged, very interactive live streaming events on social media. We'll have as a host Toby Amador, a best-selling cookbook author and a food safety expert. This Thursday, September 27th, for Food Safety Month at 4 o'clock. You can find it on our Facebook channel. And we would love for you to spread the news and share with others. We'll be giving away prizes, sharing tips, but not just share and spread with others, but people will be having questions. People will be having comments, and we would welcome you to take part in that and help people, help answer questions on the comments as we're watching the video of Toby, the live stream of Toby helping people prepare a safe and a healthy and safe meal for the month. So mark your calendars for this Thursday, the 27th. And then as we get into the holiday season, we'll head over to Twitter for a Twitter party on discussing turkey safety. That'll be about 30 minutes long on Thursday the 8th at 4 o'clock on our Twitter page. We'll host, the tips will focus on how to host an enjoyable Thanksgiving feast and prevent the unwelcome guests like harmful bacteria. Again, hoping you can take part in that as well, whether it's sharing that it'll be happening, helping answer questions, giving comments, giving advice as well. It'll be one of the largest online gathering conversations about food safety this holiday season, and we hope you can be a part of that. Also as well, can't forget media and newspapers and radio stations and local TV programs and online blogs. As we head into the holiday season, there's an abundance of opportunity, just as we're providing an abundance of content that we hope you can use. There's also an abundance of opportunity of reporters, writers, bloggers, social influencers, all looking for valuable content on how you can, on how families can prepare a safe meal. And we include in our kit, I believe for the first time ever, tips, ideas, content that you could share with media to develop a story that would feature you giving expert advice and expert tips on, this is deep in the holiday season, on safe holiday meals. If you haven't done media outreach before, it's interesting. The world is filled with PR people doing media outreach, including me, but reporters really love it when they're contacted by the experts directly. So we encourage you to reach out to local newspapers, editors, radio producers, television reporters. Usually it's just a Google search away on how to get a hold of them. That would be step one. And step two is finding their email addresses, which are typically online. And then three is offering yourself, reaching out to them and offering to be a part of a story in your local outlet with you as a spokesperson on safe food preparation, using the content that we've provided you to help secure that story. And then, of course, following up, because reporters are just like everyone else. They're highly distracted and very busy, and you often have to reach out to them one or two or three times before they will get back to you. So hoping that you could take part in local media outreach as well. And there's so many angles, whether it's turkey safety tips, that's that must-have information that media want to share during the holiday season, or food safety basics. We encourage you leading with those data points that 1 in 6 get sick from food poisoning every year because they don't know the safety basics. Media really appreciate hard research data to share with their audiences. Baking 101, obviously, raw flour, raw eggs, many don't know those risks associated with that, and sharing timely messages from the infographic we created is something that could be used in support of that pitch. Another interesting tip as well, if you're looking for ideas, during the holiday season, leading up to Thanksgiving, there's so much coverage about preparing a healthy, safe, happy Thanksgiving meal. Lots of recipes shared, lots of tips, whether it's for turkeys or other items as well. Most people don't talk about leftovers and how to safely prepare leftovers. And media have a large news hole to fill, from Friday through Sunday, the days after Thanksgiving. And you could go to them about proper storage of food, proper handling of leftovers. That's a lull in coverage there, leftover tips, how planning and safely managing leftovers can reduce food waste and also improve food safety. There's another angle there where you're kind of going where the news typically isn't covered, but the media are looking for stories to feature. So consider leftovers as a media opportunity as well. Again, the timeline on something like that, most reporters work weeks in advance. So, if you wanted to plan this out, think about early October as the time to start pitching holiday stories to newspapers, radio stations, news sites, and local TV stations, offering yourself as a spokesperson. They typically work about 6 weeks in advance in preparing for stories. So continue that through mid-October, all through late October, follow-up calls in early November, and then ideally by mid-November, you're there securing a story. But we highly encourage you to take part in that, and we hope that the materials that we provided you will be helpful for you in that outreach. And then finally, last but not least, in fact, perhaps most important, that we hope you can share this season, and hopefully we made it very, very simple. 2 ways. We have a variety. At storyofyourdinner.org, we have a variety of social media posts that you could be sharing. A calendar that begins now all the way through the holiday season. But right now, Family Meals Month content, Food Safety Month content is on there. We encourage you to visit storyofyourdinner.org and download our social media calendar. We have the links to the video and the images you could pull right from there and post on your channels. We encourage you to do that now. Plenty of content for this month that you could be sharing. Or you could also go to our Facebook or Twitter page, either Fight Back at Facebook or Fight_back at Twitter, and follow us at #StoryOfYourDinner as we share content throughout these months, and just share that content onto your page as well as a great force multiplier of this helpful information. But that information is available right now at the website, storyofyourdinner.org, if you want to grab that calendar and download and share those social messages. You can also use that content on Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Snapchat, Tumblr, YouTube, whichever social channels you find most effective in your communities with your audiences. It's all there for you to post as well. So all that we ask is that if you're able to remember to use the hashtag #StoryOfYourDinner, so it unifies the entire campaign and also helps us track the outreach. So thank you again very much. And again, storyofyourdinner.org is the place to find everything we've shared here.
Thank you, Eric. All right, so we're going to do another poll based on Story of Your Dinner. Which of the Story of Your Dinner resources Eric talked about are you most likely to use? And we will keep this open for about 30 seconds. Please respond. It gives us great information about what is useful to you. So please take the poll. And I also want to give you another shout out about questions or posting comments. Post them to the question section, and we're going to get to that very soon. So please do that now. We'll take about 30 seconds. Thanks. So have you taken the poll yet? Time to take the poll. Okay, Michelle, let's see what folks said about resources they're likely to use from Story of Your Dinner. Kids activities, great. And the infographic. Social media, terrific. Yes, so Eric mentioned that we did a social media calendar just for you guys to use. When you look at handouts here, I want to jot this down. Kids activities, 29%. Okay. When you look at the handout section, you're going to see that we have posted a social media post for you. I mean, you literally can just cut and paste these posts. We also have a tip sheet for your press release template. So we're giving you, many of you have worked with your local media. Some of you maybe haven't. Some of you might be looking for ways to coach other staff people about working with the media. So hopefully you'll find the tip sheet, the press release template, as Eric mentioned, helpful to you. So we're going to get to a few questions. We've got about 10 minutes for sure, so we can get through them. There was a question about whether the slides will be available. We are going to post them as a PDF with the recording. So again, if you've never checked out the fightback.org events page under recorded webinars, there's all kinds of great webinars there. And that's where we'll put the recording, we'll put a download of the slides, and we will put the CEU certificates. So again, to questions, comments, and thank you all again for participating today and for helping us with the polls. I'm looking at a question. I want to go in the order here, so one sec. Question. Could the food safety suggestions for recipes be on the side, similar to ingredients? Or, for example, listed with the ingredients, small tomato, washed and cubed? Are there studies comparing the difference between the format and what works? Thank you for your question, and I would like Maya to talk about this a little. I would comment, since we've done a webinar on this topic of the research, observational research that was done on consumers following food safety prompts. In that research, the prompts were included in the instructions of the recipe, the instructions section of the recipe. So part of why that is the way we're proceeding is that that has been tested and proven to be effective. So Maya, I'd ask you if you have anything to add to that. What about, for example, putting in the ingredient section that, produce should be washed and cubed or whatever?
Right. I would echo exactly what you said in terms of what's been tested is to incorporate it within the recipe. And we incorporated it without highlighting it, without bolding it. It's just part of the recipe. It doesn't stand out in any way. It's a standard, step, just like every other step. And we just did that because we want people to think of it just that way as part of a standard step. And I guess some of the instructions don't lend themselves so much to being fed off like that. For example, if you're handling raw chicken, you really need it within the recipe that at this point, this is where you wash your hands. So, to kind of give people the time sequence of when these things happen. But I do agree that sometimes, if it is just washing the produce, maybe that could be just with the ingredients, but some of the steps really do lend themselves to being within the steps of the recipe. So,
yeah, thank you, Maya.
And Shelley, if I can add to that, that's exactly the same thing that we did to develop this whole program. And one of the interesting things, when we took this whole concept to people who are the recipe developers, these are the people we want to convince to do this, that it makes sense and it's good and easy to do. One of the things they told us was we have to be careful of not adding too many words and too many instructions, and especially when you're dealing with print recipe media, because they just have limitations. They can't, if it's online, you have a little bit more flexibility, but if you're dealing with anything that's going to be in print, the economy of words is really, really critical. So that's why almost every word chosen for the instructions was very carefully chosen.
Yes, thank you, Sue, for adding that. Yeah, so you all will learn as we roll out this recipe standards, as Sue said, some of the reactions to ensuring that we can proceed in a way that recipe writers, cookbook writers can accommodate. But I think it's a really interesting question, and Brooke, glad you brought it up. And it's, you all might, there's probably somebody on this call, on this webinar, who could do further research in this area. It would be fantastic. I think that's definitely needed. All right, I'm going to move on to another question, which I think is a good one. This one might be another one that Maya could start out with. So Mary asks, how do you respond to people who disregard your food safety information and claim they've never been sick from not following safe practices? I know, it's a good one. Some people actually make fun of my strict sanitation habits, such as always using a thermometer. Yeah, that's a great one, and it's a really important thing we all face. Maya, do you want to start with any input on, how FDA views that when you're working so hard to ensure consumers are taking these actions to reduce risk?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I think that starting out with that statistic that 1 in 6 Americans are affected by foodborne illness, to maybe bring it home for people, maybe if it hasn't happened yet, it certainly is something that could happen. But, we're simply here providing the information and are hopeful that, even with things like incorporating it into a recipe, that sort of takes the education piece almost out of it, where if this becomes more of a standard and people are using these kinds of recipes, maybe people don't feel so necessarily, preached at or educated. It's just there, and we know that it actually works when you do it in that way, as opposed to, maybe doing it in a different way where your, food safety tips are not incorporated into where people are using them. So I definitely hear that feedback, but I think giving people that background information and then incorporating it into these real life scenarios, which you heard from all three of us today, as a really promising strategy for encouraging safe food handling behaviors.
Yeah, thank you, Maya. That is something we all face, is like, this next question kind of helps us explore that last question a bit more too. Someone asked, what should we be telling women after delivering of a baby? And I would say, in my experience with the partnership, that's another way to get the attention of people who might not take this seriously, is talking about how young children are at such increased risk and the very real dangers to their health of a foodborne illness. We produced a campaign some of you might have seen, and we'd love you to continue to promote, called about food safety for young children, and about some other practices in the home with babies and toddlers that are really important. But this whole issue of young children, even babies, how parents should approach food safety, particularly with young children in the household. It's very important, and I think you'll be seeing us all do more work in the near future on talking about the risks and about chronic long-term illnesses that can stem from a foodborne infection. So we have a lot of other good questions, but I do think we should move to wrap up. And some of these are about, you guys are offering various questions and suggestions about recipes. I think we're all really excited about talking about food safety in the context of delicious recipes. I will admit, we love nutrition too, but we have a cookie recipe this year. Super excited. I have all the ingredients to make the cookies, the pumpkin cookies with chocolate chips. So I'm going to do it. Please keep fightback.org always in mind as a resource for you on produce, don't wing it, grilling, babies and toddlers, go 40 or below, lots of stuff there. And as well, our events page. Next, the story of your dinner, I do need to point out, is a fantastic creative campaign, and it is made possible with this year by the support of these partners, these sponsors, Ardent Mills, Cargill, Costco Wholesale, and the Frozen Food Foundation. So we thank them for their amazing support. They help us do so much to get this campaign out and to have Eric and his team involved. So please search out the resources there. Remember to get your handout here. Last call to get your handout right here off the webinar. Our sponsoring partners help make the partnerships work throughout the year possible, including these webinars. Cargill, ConAgra, the FMI Foundation, thank you, Sue. NSF, PMA, and Tyson, leading partners who support the nonprofit Partnership for Food Safety Education. This partnership is made up of many different organizations, and that's one reason I hope you'll continue to be part of this community, because we work with the federal agencies and with all these leading food industry associations, scientific and professional societies in food and nutrition. Really some of the leading experts in the world on food safety and nutrition. So we really appreciate working with you, because this community is who is reaching millions of consumers. We have another event coming up very shortly. If you all have noticed, and some of you have probably been on our behavior change series, it's been a series that's run throughout this year, and it's really good information. You'll find it in our recorded webinars. So we're doing a recap of the behavior change series on October 4th. So if you haven't had a chance to be part of this really interesting conversation about what is the science behind people's behavior and how to change their behaviors, join us on October 4th. You can register by going to our events page. We are preparing for the next Consumer Food Safety Education Conference. If you work in health education and food safety education, I think you'd really enjoy this conference. It's a lot of fun. It's only about 2 days, and we get some really terrific speakers. So please take a look at From Consumers to Chefs, our conference in early March 2019. Take a look at that and hold the date. Final reminder, you can get your CEU certificate right here on the handout section. You can wait for the follow-up email, or you can wait a bit longer, but not too long, and find it at our recorded webinar page. Those are all the ways you can get it. We're not able to answer all emails about the CEUs, which is why I want to make sure you see that there's 3 ways to get it, including right here on the webinar. So I also want to remind you, as soon as we close the webinar, a survey is going to pop up. Your input, we look at your input all the time. We look at your suggestions. We We improve our email outreach based on what you all suggest. We improve our webinars, so please respond to the survey. It's been really great to have you all today. I think this is just an amazing panel of people we had today, and hopefully you feel overwhelmed with great content and you know that there's so many people working to support you, health educators on the ground in the United States. I think and I hope you'll find there's something here that you can use this month or that you can use for the holidays. Thank you, Sue, Maya. Thank you, Eric. Thanks, Michelle and Shantae, for your help. And keep on fighting back. See you on the next webinar. Bye-bye.